Imagine reaching into a jar of change on your dresser, the one that's been gathering dust for years, and pulling out a penny so ordinary looking you almost toss it aside. But what if that unassuming coin, darkened by time, holds a secret that could rewrite your understanding of everyday money? What if the tiniest detail missing from its surface transforms it from pocket change into a numismatic legend? This is the story of the 1981 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. A coin so elusive that most collectors will never encounter one in their lifetime. Yet it could be hiding in plain sight, right under your fingertips. The penny has always been a companion of American life, slipping through hands in grocery stores, laundromats, and childhood piggy banks. In 1981, millions upon millions of Lincoln cents were minted, destined to vanish into the tide of everyday commerce. They were supposed to be unremarkable, indistinguishable from one another. But within that sea of copper-colored discs, something extraordinary happened. A tiny oversight in minting created a phantom. A coin that should not exist yet somehow does. The 1981 Lincoln cent without its mint mark. Now, pause for a moment and ask yourself, how many times have you glanced at a penny without ever really looking? The year, the worn edges, the portrait of Lincoln. But have you ever noticed the small letter beneath the date? Most cents bear one, showing where they were struck. And in 1981, that mattered more than ever. But what if one of those coins left the presses missing that crucial stamp? To the untrained eye, it blends with the ordinary. To collectors, it's a pulse-quickening discovery. Imagine inheriting an old coffee tin from a relative. The kind heavy with decades of change. You pour it out onto the table, hearing the clatter of pennies echo like a forgotten time capsule. You're sifting casually, expecting nothing but tarnished copper and zinc, when suddenly your eyes narrow. Something is different. The date is there. The detail of Lincoln's bust is there. But the tiny letter that should identify its birthplace is simply gone. Could it be possible that you've stumbled upon one of the rarest slips in American coinage? The suspense deepens because most people don't even know such a coin exists. They pass them in circulation, spend them without a thought, or let them languish in jars for decades. And that's precisely why collectors obsess over these finds. They're not flashy, they're not obvious, and only a handful have ever been documented. They exist like whispers in the larger story of money, known only to those who search carefully. But how does such a mistake even happen? In 1981, mint marks were not pressed into the coins by the dies themselves. Instead, they were manually punched into the working dies before striking. This meant that human hands determined the presence of that small identifying letter. If the process was overlooked, or if a die somehow slipped through inspection, a batch of coins could be struck with no mint mark at all. Once they entered circulation, they blended seamlessly with the millions of normal cents. Think about that. One overlooked detail in a vast industrial system. And suddenly you have a modern rarity worth chasing. The thrill of discovery isn't just in the finding, it's in the stories that surround it. Picture a young collector in the early 90s. digging through pocket change with a magnifying glass. When the absence of a mint mark sparks excitement that sends him racing to a local dealer. Or imagine an elderly woman cleaning out her attic, finding an envelope of coins saved by her late husband, never realizing one of them is a treasure she's held onto for decades. These aren't far-fetched scenarios. They've happened before, and they remind us that life-changing discoveries often come disguised as the most ordinary things. Here's where the urgency kicks in. Every day, coins are lost, spent, or melted down. Every day, another chance to uncover a hidden gem disappears forever. If only a handful of the 1981 no-mint mark cents survived, how many remain today? How many are locked in albums that nobody has opened in years? How many are sitting in safe deposit boxes, unknown even to the families that own them? What if one is lying in your very own coin jar at this exact moment, waiting for your eyes to recognize what others have missed? Collectors speak about these coins in almost mythical tones, because unlike commemorative issues or intentional rarities, this coin's existence was never planned. Its rarity is born of error, of oversight, of chance. That makes it infinitely more thrilling. Owning one isn't just about possessing a rare object, it's about holding history. A reminder that even in systems built on precision, humanity still leaves room for mystery. When examples of the 1981 no-mint mark cent surface, they don't go unnoticed. Major auction houses have placed them under bright lights, drawing gasps from seasoned bidders. Professional grading services have authenticated them, sealing them in protective holders that turn pocket change into celebrated artifacts. And trusted dealers have whispered their stories across collector circles, fueling a feverish demand for something so deceptively plain. But here's the most haunting thought. For every documented piece, there could be others waiting to be recognized. Coins that passed through grocery store counters in the 80s and 90s. Coins that bought candy bars or bus tickets. Coins that slipped through countless hands without a second glance. What if you've already spent one, unknowingly letting a fortune vanish into circulation? That sting of regret fuels the hunt as much as the promise of discovery. The scarcity of these coins can't be overstated. While millions of ordinary 1981 pennies are common, this no-mint mark version is the ghost hiding among them. And like all great rarities, its story is amplified by the fact that most collectors will never see one in person. The hunt becomes part of the lore. The possibility of finding one turns every penny in your pocket into a tiny mystery waiting to be solved. Think of the adrenaline rush. You're at a flea market, flipping through a tray of loose change being sold by weight. Your eyes scan casually, and then, in a heartbeat, your pulse quickens. There it is, a 1981 cent, date sharp and clear, but no mint mark beneath it. You buy the whole tray just to mask your excitement, heart racing as you wonder if you've just turned a few dollars into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. That's the cinematic thrill that keeps collectors searching year after year, never quite knowing when lightning might strike. And when these coins do reach the auction block, the results can be staggering. Bidders lock eyes, paddles rise, and the numbers climb higher as the room buzzes with anticipation. What starts as a modest bid surges into the tens of thousands, then beyond, until the hammer falls and history is made once again. One verified example has sold for well over $20,000, a price that transforms a single cent into a coveted prize worthy of legends. It is moments like these that elevate the 1981 No Mint Mark Penny from curiosity to icon. Now, let the gravity of that sink in. A coin you could mistake for pocket change crossed the stage of prestigious auction houses and commanded the kind. It's figures that most people never imagine associating with a penny. And the most electrifying part is this limited edition collectibles that are locked away in private collections. This coin still lurks in circulation, still has the potential to be found by anyone willing to look closely enough. So what should you do with this knowledge? The answer is simple. Never overlook a penny again. Examine your change. Go through that forgotten jar on your nightstand. Dust off the albums tucked away in your closet. Because the moment you hold one of these elusive coins in your hand, you're no longer just an observer of history, you're part of it. You become the storyteller, the discoverer, the guardian of a rarity that slipped through the cracks of a massive minting operation. And the truth is, nobody knows how many are still out there. Maybe dozens. Maybe only a handful. Maybe just one waiting for the right set of eyes. That uncertainty is what fuels the chase. The possibility that the next life-changing coin could surface anywhere. From a child's piggy bank to the drawer of a gas station, till the next time a penny lands in your hand. Resist the urge to dismiss it. Hold it to the light. Look closer than you ever have before. Because one missing mark can transform a coin from ordinary to extraordinary. In 1982, something unexpected slipped into circulation. A penny that looked like any other Lincoln's familiar profile on the front, the memorial on the back. Millions of people spent it without a second thought, tucked it into pockets, dropped it into change jars. Maybe even tossed it into fountains with a wish. But hidden among those countless coins was a version with a tiny, almost invisible difference that would make collectors, decades later, stop in their tracks. Imagine emptying out your grandfather's cigar box of old change and finding a coin that seems so ordinary. Until you realize it could be one of the rarest mistakes in modern minting history. Would you recognize it before spending it at the corner store? Or would you let a fortune slip through your fingers disguised as a single cent? The year 1982 was already a turning point for the humble penny. For over a century, these coins were made primarily of copper. But rising metal prices pushed the mint to a cheaper alternative. That year, the composition quietly shifted from heavy copper to lighter zinc coated with copper plating. It was a transition carried out midstream, which means both types of penny scoper and zinc were struck during the same year. And layered on top of that complicated shift, the mint marks that usually tell us where the coin was struck carried a surprise of their own. In the midst of this massive change, a small batch of coins left the presses missing something vital: the mint mark itself. No letter beneath the date, no clue to its origin. Just a smooth field where there should have been a tiny D or S. It was an oversight that slipped past countless eyes. And only years later did collectors begin piecing together just how rare and strange this coin truly was. Picture yourself sifting through a coffee can of pennies that has been gathering dust in an attic for 30 years. Most are dull, their edges greened with age, but then one catches the light differently. You roll it between your fingers, glance at the date, 1982. You look closer. No letter beneath the date. At first, you might shrug it off. But what if that tiny missing detail was a secret marker of value far beyond a single cent? What if you held in your palm the same kind of coin that has made seasoned collectors battle in bidding wars at major auction houses? Stories circulate of ordinary people who stumbled on one of these elusive pieces without even realizing what they had. A box of coins inherited from a relative, an old change jar forgotten in the garage, even a roll of pennies picked up at the bank, time and again. Someone notices something odd about a single coin lighter than expected, or heavier. Or simply missing that mint mark hand, curiosity turns into astonishment as experts confirm it's the real thing. These are not tales of professional treasure hunters scouring the earth. They are stories of chance, of fate, of everyday people discovering a hidden jewel in the most ordinary corners of life. But here's the twist. Not all 1982 pennies without a mint mark are valuable. Many were struck in Philadelphia that year, and those coins naturally carry no mint mark. They're common, they're everywhere. They're worth only their face value. The rarity lies in a very specific variety. The small date Lincoln sent with no mint mark, made of copper, not zinc. That combination is the key, and it's so elusive that only a handful have ever been authenticated by professional grading services. Think about that, billions of pennies minted in 1982, but only a few discovered in this precise form. How many more might still be hiding, unrecognized, in forgotten boxes or tucked away in someone's dresser drawer? The hunt becomes a game of details. Copper coins are heavier, zinc coins lighter. The small date is subtle compared to the large date. The numbers shaped just differently enough that trained eyes can tell them apart. Most people will glance right over it. But what if you took the time to look closely? What if you spotted the slender curves of the small date, felt the heavier weight of copper, and then noticed the field under the year was empty? No letter at all? That combination is like finding a needle in a haystack. But those who find it unlock one of the great treasures of modern coin collecting. Collectors know the power of scarcity. When an heir coin is discovered in large numbers, it quickly becomes less special. But when only a handful are confirmed, the stakes change dramatically. The few examples of the 1982 no mint mark small date copper penny that have surfaced have been fiercely fought over at auction. Trusted dealers whisper about them. Major auction houses present them with dramatic flair. And every time one crosses the block, the price climbs higher. As collectors realize they may never see another offered for years. It's not just a coin anymore. It's a symbol of rarity, a talisman of luck. A piece of minting history that almost shouldn't exist. Imagine sitting in a crowded auction room, the air buzzing with anticipation. A lot number is called, and on the screen appears what looks to be a simple penny. Murmurs ripple through the crowd as the description is read, 1982. Lincoln cent, small date copper, no mint mark. Suddenly, it isn't just a penny, it's a legend. Bidders raise their paddles. The numbers climb. 5 figures. 6 figures. When the gavel finally falls, the room exhales as one. A 1-cent coin that someone once spent on candy or soda now commands a price that could buy a car, a house, even change a life. Skeptical? That's natural. After all, we've all handled so many pennies that the idea of one being worth a fortune feels impossible. But the records are there, in the form of past auctions, where this very coin has sold for tens of thousands of dollars, even breaching into the 6-figure range in pristine condition. And every time one appears, it seems to set a new standard for just how high collectors are willing to go. The demand outstrips the supply. And the supply is nearly non-existent. Think of the regret of tossing one of these coins back into circulation without ever realizing it. How many people over the years have unknowingly paid for gum, bus fare, or a newspaper with one of the rarest pennies of all time? How many slipped through cash registers, coin sorters, and vending machines, never to be recognized? The thought is both haunting and thrilling. Because if so many were lost, what if 1 or 2 are still out there, waiting in a shoebox or a safe deposit box, waiting for someone like you to notice? Every collector remembers the first time they learned about the 1982 no mint mark penny. It transforms the way you look at change. Suddenly, every handful of coins becomes a mystery to solve, every date and detail worth a second look. And the truth is, most collectors will never see one in person, let alone own one. That's what makes it so intoxicating. It's the chase, the slim chance. The possibility that the next coin you flip over could rewrite everything you thought you knew about pocket change. The beauty of this story lies in its ordinariness. It isn't about ancient treasure ships or buried chests of gold. It's about the penny, the coin we ignore, the coin we drop in tip jars, the coin we let rattle around under couch cushions. That the rarest of treasures could be hiding in the most mundane of places is what gives this story its spark. And it's why collectors never stop searching. Never stop looking just a little bit closer. Never stop hoping the 1982 small date copper no mint mark Pennies stands as a reminder of how thin the line is between ordinary and extraordinary. A simple oversight, a quirk of production, and suddenly a coin meant to be worth a cent becomes worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands. Every auction where one appears reinforces its legendary status. Every new discovery stirs fresh excitement, and every day, someone, somewhere, is unknowingly holding one, not yet realizing what they've got, so the question remains, could you have one? Could it be sitting in that coffee can of change? That jar of pennies in your kitchen? That inherited box of coins from a relative who collected quietly but never told anyone? The only way to know is to look, to weigh, to examine, to pay attention to the details that most people overlook. Because in this case, the details are everything. The next time a penny passes through your hands, pause before you let it go. Look at the date, study the numbers, check beneath the year, feel its weight. Ask yourself if this ordinary-seeming coin might carry within it an extraordinary secret. Because history has shown us that the line between pocket change and life-changing discovery is sometimes no thicker than the edge of a penny. And remember, only a scarce few of these coins are confirmed, which means the chances are slim but not impossible. The thrill is in the hunt, the suspense in every handful of change. Collectors know that hope, that flicker of possibility that keeps the chase alive. Because one day, someone will pull the next great discovery from the shadows, and the world of coin collecting will buzz once again with excitement. The story of the 1982 penny, with no mint mark, is more than just a tale of metal and minting. It's about luck, about attention to detail, about the treasures hiding in plain sight. It's about the extraordinary hiding inside the ordinary, waiting for sharp eyes and patient hands to uncover it. And it's a reminder that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest weight. The 1984 Lincoln penny from the Denver Mint doesn't scream treasure when you first see it. It's not made of silver or gold. It doesn't sparkle with precious metal. Yet the allure lies not in what it looks like at a glance, but in what might be hidden beneath the surface. Over the decades, millions of pennies rolled off the presses in Denver, but only a fraction have earned the attention of the world's most serious collectors. Why? Because certain coins hold secret subtle mistakes, rare conditions, or pristine survival that can transform them from pocket change into prizes that command bidding wars in major auction houses. Imagine stumbling across one of these coins in an old jar your grandparents tucked away in the attic. Dust covers the lid, the paper label long faded. You open it, expecting to see nothing but the dull glint of ordinary copper, but nestled among them is a penny that makes your heart skip. It's dated 1984. The D-Mint mark catches your eye. What if this is one of those rare survivors collectors whisper about? What if the coin you almost spent at the corner store is the very coin that could write your name into numismatic history? Story of this penny begins with the long tradition of the Lincoln cent. Since 1909, the humble 1-cent piece has carried Abraham Lincoln's profile, making it one of the most recognizable coins in the world. By the early 1980s, pennies were struck in massive numbers at multiple mints, including Denver. On the surface, the 1984D looks ordinary. But in the shadows of its production lie variations that make all the difference. Some carry doubling errors that reveal themselves under close inspection, letters and numbers that look slightly blurred or doubled. Others are coveted simply because they survived in flawless condition despite decades of circulation. Think about it. How many pennies are actually kept safe, untouched, unspent? Almost none. Children spend them on candy. Adults drop them into vending machines. They scrape along sidewalks, get lost in couch cushions, fade, and tarnish in pockets. So when a coin like this emerges in near-perfect condition, it feels almost impossible. Collectors know the odds, and that's what drives the frenzy. A coin that survived 3 decades without a scratch becomes a miracle, and miracles have value. But here's the question that keeps the hunt alive. How do you know if the 1984D you've stumbled upon is special? You might notice doubling on Lincoln's ear, a tiny detail most people miss at first glance. You might see sharpness in the strike luster that reflects light like it was struck yesterday. Each of these possibilities can turn a penny into something worth sending to professional grading services, where experts confirm authenticity and assign grades that often decide its destiny. Picture this. A collector in the Midwest inherits a small album of coins from a relative. Flipping through it, he pauses at an unassuming 1984D penny. The coin looks brighter than it should. After grading, it emerges as one of the finest known examples. Bidding erupts at a major auction, hands rising higher and higher until the hammer falls, and the coin that once lived quietly in a family album fetches a sum large enough to change someone's life. Stories like this aren't fairy tales, they're documented moments where ordinary families suddenly realize the treasure they had all along. And yet, for every dazzling discovery, there are thousands of pennies spent without a second glance. How many treasures slip through fingers at grocery store counters? How many collectors passed over a jar of coins, assuming they were nothing but common change? It's the fear of missing out, the chilling thought that the fortune you seek may have already slipped past you, that keeps collectors scanning every penny. Auction houses have seen these coins ignite fierce bidding battles. While most 1984D pennies might only be worth face value, select examples have crossed into the hundreds, and in the most remarkable cases, into the thousands. The highest recorded sales, for those with flawless preservation and captivating detail, soar well beyond what anyone expects from a coin so familiar. Imagine standing in that auction room, watching a simple penny climb to a price tag that feels impossible. It's not just a coin anymore, it's history, rarity, and desire all colliding in one electrifying moment. But what if you already own one and don't know it? What if the penny sitting in the cup holder of your car, or the one buried deep in your dresser drawer, is the next headline maker? Most people never check. They assume it's just another Lincoln cent, too common to care about. And that assumption is exactly what allows treasures to hide in plain sight. Scarcity drives obsession. Only a handful of the sharpest, cleanest examples survive today. Only a small number show the doubling that makes collectors' hearts race. Most pennies, worn and scratched, fade into anonymity. But the select few that beat the odds rise like rare gems from a sea of copper. That imbalance between the millions that exists and the few that matter is where the excitement lives. Close your eyes and imagine a dusty old safe, locked away for decades. Inside are envelopes of coins carefully wrapped by someone who once believed in their value. You break the seal, expecting silver or gold, but instead find rows of copper pennies. Disappointment flickers until you notice the date. 1984. That D mint mark. Your pulse quickens. Could this be the one? The moment is pure adrenaline, a rush that only collectors truly understand. Even seasoned numismatists confess the thrill never fades. The act of discovery, of turning over a coin and realizing it's not what you first thought, creates a story that money alone cannot buy. Every great coin has a journey, from the mint press to pockets, from jars to safes, from families to the open market. The 1984D Lincoln cent carries that journey in its copper skin. And for some, the journey ends in the spotlight of a bidding hall where its true value is revealed. So what makes this coin unforgettable? It's the blend of the familiar and the rare. It's something you could hold in your hand right now, yet in a particular condition or with a rare error, it becomes a legend. That tension between ordinary and extraordinary keeps people searching. Because the line between pocket change and prized treasure is razor thin. Think about the people who've overlooked theirs. Someone once bought a soda with a penny now locked in a display case, while someone else once threw one in a fountain, making a wish on a coin that later sold for a staggering amount. These stories whisper a warning. Don't dismiss what looks common. The next fortune may already be within reach. The 1984D penny teaches us something profound. It's not about chasing the coins that scream wealth at first glance. It's about training your eye to spot the subtle details, the quiet survivors, the hidden anomalies that most others miss. That's where the treasure hides, not in the obvious, but in the overlooked. Collectors know the clock is always ticking. With each passing year, more pennies are lost, corroded, or discarded, narrowing the pool of potential finds. That shrinking supply amplifies the urgency. Every coin you ignore today might be the coin you regret tomorrow. Every jar you fail to search might contain the very piece that could change your story forever. The pinnacle moments. When the finest 1984D examples cross the auction block, prove that even the smallest coin can command astonishing respect. We've seen documented sales climbing into the thousands, numbers that make your heart skip when you remember we're talking about a penny. The gap between 1 cent and thousands of dollars is a chasm filled with mystery, passion, and luck. And the next leap could belong to you. So the question lingers. Will you let the coins in your possession pass unnoticed? Or will you look closer? Will you dig through the jars, the safes, the albums that gather dust in attics and basements? Or will you risk the haunting thought that you walked past a hidden fortune? The 1984D Lincoln cent is more than just copper. It is a reminder that treasure often hides in plain sight, that the line between ordinary and extraordinary is drawn not by what we expect, but by what we discover. Somewhere, right now, another collector is finding theirs. Somewhere, another auction is preparing to witness the drama unfold. And somewhere, maybe in your pocket or your home, the next remarkable penny is waiting to be seen. It's dated 1987, and right beneath the year, there's a tiny letter. A D. At first glance, it seems like any other penny. But what if this ordinary-looking cent is one of the hidden treasures that collectors spend their lives chasing. What if a coin you've overlooked for decades is actually the key to a story of rarity, mystery, and unexpected fortune? The 1987 Lincoln Cent with the Denver Mint. Mark has a reputation that lurks quietly in the background of the coin-collecting world. It was minted by the millions, and most of them slipped into circulation without a second thought. People used them to buy gum, to feed parking meters, to toss into fountains. But here's the twist. A fraction of these coins were struck with errors, unusual features, or qualities that set them apart from the masses. And in the world of numismatics, rarity and condition are everything. Think about it. How many times have you held a penny and dismissed it as worthless? What if one of those times you were holding a coin that, under the right circumstances, could command the attention of major auction houses? Could you live with the regret of having let it slip back into circulation without a second glance? The story of this penny begins with Abraham Lincoln's portrait, a design first introduced in 1909. By 1987, the Lincoln Cent had already been in American pockets for nearly 8 decades, a familiar face representing stability. But behind the routine production of billions of cents, mistakes sometimes occurred. A die might crack. A planchette might be off-center. A double strike might leave ghostly outlines where they didn't belong. These errors turned an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. Picture someone inheriting a small wooden box from a grandfather who quietly collected coins in his spare time. Inside are rows of wheat cents, silver dimes, and among them, a 1987 D penny tucked away because it looked different. For decades, it sat unnoticed until a curious grandchild decided to investigate. They bring it to a professional grading service, and under bright lights and magnification, the truth is revealed. The coin isn't ordinary at all. It's a variety that collectors have long whispered about. One of the elusive survivors that can fetch staggering bids when it comes up for sale. But here's where it gets even more thrilling. Most 1987 D pennies are still out there, tucked away in jars, drawers, and piggy banks, completely overlooked. Collectors know that finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition is like striking gold. Think about it. Billions were made, but how many were spared from scratches, tarnish, and circulation? How many remain crisp, shining, with full red luster as if they had just left the mint? The answer is very few, and scarcity fuels desire. And then there are the stories that circulate through the collecting community. A man cleaning out his attic discovers a forgotten coffee can filled with pennies. Inside, one coin catches his eye. He nearly spends it at a vending machine before hesitating and checking. That hesitation pays off when the coin is authenticated, and eventually crosses the auction block for more than most people's yearly rent. Another collector finds theirs in a dealer's bargain bin, priced at face value. Imagine the shock when they learn the true potential of what they've stumbled upon. What makes the 1987 D penny so captivating isn't just its age or the Lincoln design. It's the fact that certain rare versions of this coin have documented appearances at major auctions, pulling in prices far beyond what anyone would expect for a single cent. Some, in immaculate condition, have sold for hundreds. Others climbing into the thousands. And then there are those exceptional specimens, the flawless survivors, that have pushed even higher. With one record-setting example crossing the block for over $10,000. For a penny, most people wouldn't bend down to pick up off the street. That's a revelation that sends chills down your spine. But here's the haunting question. How many of us have handled these coins without realizing their worth? How many times has someone tossed one into a coin machine, rolled it into a paper wrapper, or let it vanish back into circulation? The fear of regret looms large here, 'cause every collector has a story of the one that got away, the coin they owned once but didn't recognize in time. Consider the role of grading. Professional services exist to certify a coin's authenticity and condition, giving collectors confidence in what they're buying or selling. A 1987 D penny that might appear ordinary to the untrained eye could, under magnification, reveal crisp details, strong strike quality, and the coveted red designation that signals original mint luster. The difference between a coin selling for a few dollars and one selling for thousands often comes down to these subtle distinctions. That's why those who take the time to look closely, to examine every coin with care, are the ones who uncover the treasures others pass over. Now imagine standing at an estate sale, browsing through a box of miscellaneous coins priced at a few dollars for the lot. Your fingers sift through them casually until you see a 1987 D. You slip it into your pocket, barely giving it a thought. Later, under the light at home, you notice something strange. The strike looks different, sharper, more alive. Your pulse quickens. Could it be? That moment, the heartbeat of possibility, is what keeps collectors searching, driven by the idea that lightning might strike in their own collection. Scarcity is what creates legends in the coin world. Out of billions, only a handful may survive in exceptional condition. Only a fraction may carry errors that elevate them from mundane to miraculous. And when those coins surface, the competition is fierce. Auction halls fall silent as bids rise higher and higher. Each collector desperate to secure a piece of history that most people will never even know exists. The story of the 1987 D penny is more than just a tale of copper and mint marks. It's a reminder that value often hides in plain sight. It's about the thrill of discovery, the suspense of not knowing what's waiting in your change, and the joy of finding meaning in something others dismiss. Every coin has a story, but only a rare few carry the weight of mystery, scarcity, and untapped potential like this one. So the next time you see a penny lying on the ground, ask yourself, what if this is the one? What if that overlooked cent is a survivor from 1987? A Denver minted coin that's been quietly waiting for decades to reveal its true nature. Will you bend down and take a closer look, or will you walk away, never knowing what you might have missed? Collectors live for these moments, the heart-stopping discoveries that change everything. And as the stories of the 1987 D continue to circulate, the urgency grows. Most will never find one. Most will overlook it. But for the lucky few who do, the reward is not just financial, but the feeling of having uncovered a secret that the world almost forgot. Because in the end, it isn't about the copper, the weight, or even the face of Lincoln staring back. It's about the chase, the treasure hunt that turns ordinary coins into extraordinary prizes. Somewhere, right now, a 1987 D penny is sitting in a jar, in a safe, in a forgotten drawer. Somewhere, someone is holding one without realizing they possess a piece of numismatic history. The question is, will that someone be you? The next $1 million penny could already be sitting in your pocket. Until next time, keep searching and keep collecting.